Radio in motion. Program loading in 3, 2, 1. Program activated.
Attention everyone, the unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Okay, first things first, what is your name?
This is Big Sonny playing the best of the 90s and beyond.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Radio in motion.
Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
All right, ready? Here we go.
Radio in motion.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining me tonight on Radio Motion's episode of Stadium Rock. Some of the best rock bands that can certainly fill the sound in a huge arena. Thanks for joining me. Right now we're going to have another episode of The Ugly Truth. Now the truth is ugly, but it can set you free. It was once said the truth is like a lion. It doesn't need to defend itself. It just needs to be set free. I think that's a bit of a worry today. I don't think it, unfortunately, is that easy. The problem is we get used to so many lies that are told to us, and after a while, they just roll off the tongue, and we get used to them as truth. So that's the problem. Is now, how do you weed out facts, and not your truth or your version of the truth, but just the facts of life, things that really affect us all. And again, whenever I talk about something that's divisive or political, I think these days everyone they immediately draw a line in the sand, which is not how it's meant to be. If you're going to get into any of a discussion like that, you just need to be prepared to have an open discourse and an open mind. And like I say, the ability to walk away having learned something, or at least agreeing to disagree, but taking on board what that other person said. And again, it's all about respect and how we talk to each other and how we approach each other. If you attack someone in a way that's it's a verbal abuse, or it's something where you've put them on the back foot, well, that's on you, because you didn't approach the subject in a respectful and meaningful way to have a discussion. Now, I had something I was going to kick this off with, but I just watched something on YouTube, and this was on Jimmy Dore. And Jimmy Dore is great. He's one of those guys. He was just a comedian and successful in his own right. And I think comedians, they're a little bit different than sort of average the Hollywood actor type. I think comedians are amazing at understanding, sarcasm and satire. And when they go out to an audience, it's like they're playing the instrument. And frankly, the audience is the instrument, and they know right where to push and pull and when the laugh's not working. So again, from that point of view, I think anyone who's a successful comedian, they already have that sort of cerebral brain that is able to take a look at something and know when it's time to have a laugh, and it's okay. We are all human. The human experience, like I say, is hilarious. And if we can't joke about each other, then if you can't take a joke, I think that's problematic right there. If you can't just take a joke about the human condition. So Jimmy Dore, he sort of went through this process where he started to just get tired of all the crap he was being fed by mainstream media. And, he felt like a lot of us, like he was going insane. And that's the other thing is people will want to make you feel like that, like you're alone and isolated. And when we all have a natural ability, it's inherent to sniff out bullcrap. And when those around you, like I say, not those around you, more like, mainstream media or politicians or someone who's trying to feed you a line of crap, and it's just not right, but they want to make you feel like it is the truth. So he said he sort of shifted, and now he does a bit of political satire and just comments on what's going on in the world. Anyway, he just showed a video which I thought was astounding, and this also goes into what I'm going to talk about tonight, which is Australia. The Albanese Labour Party government is trying to pass this misinformation bill. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I feel like Australia tends to be a litmus test for the rest of the world. They try it here, and then sure enough, it's in Canada and it's in America. And, again, I'm in a unique position because I am someone born in America, but I've also been in Australia for over 20 years. So I'm able to step back and look at things from afar. And what I saw on this clip from the Jimmy Dore was appalling. And this is what can happen. This is what can happen to just a regular guy, a regular U.S. citizen, or frankly, possibly an Australian citizen, when you don't have someone speaking for you and when you don't have the right kind of laws that backing you. Now, in this case, frankly, it's as simple as this. His First Amendment rights saved him. That's a fact. This is all about freedom of speech. And whatever country you're in, if you're in the Western civilization, a civilized world, freedom and freedom of speech, I think that is an inalienable right that you can't remove. It's attached to you just like your arm and your leg. And that freedom is something that you should always fight for. So this situation, and caught on camera, which happens more and more these days, whether you're right or wrong, be sure you're going to get caught on camera. So this was just a regular guy who made a comment on Facebook, his opinion. In fact, it was just a joke, satire, sarcasm, which, whether it's Trump or Kamala Harris or Biden or anyone in government, anyone as a public figure, frankly, as a public figure, your life is open to satire, sarcasm, and debate. That's life. Someone wants to sue for a libel or something, that's fine. Or defamation. A joke is a joke, folks. So this guy put a joke on Facebook, but the thing is it wasn't far from the truth. It just happened to be a joke about the wrong person. Made a joke about Kamala Harris. And essentially, maybe the joke it aired on the side of, again, Trump has just had 2 assassination attempts on his life. And again, when I talk about Trump or Kamala, I'm not picking a side. I'm just stating the facts and telling you to always use your brain. Don't get stuck on an ideology. Don't get stuck on a party. Don't get stuck on left or right. Just use your brain. And in this case, my brain does see, based on evidence, people say the most horrid things about Trump. Again, it doesn't mean I'm a Trumper. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying people say the most abhorrent things about Trump and egregious things. And it's fine. And no one cares, because the people who are currently in control are fine with that. They're fine. They're fine for Trump hate speech. But if you put hate speech on the wrong person, if you have an opinion called hate speech now, you can get in trouble. So much so that the FBI might visit your house. And this is what happened. He made a joke on Facebook. I mean, he might have had a few hundred likes and a few people saw it. It wasn't like it was viral and billions of people saw it. Just made a joke. So he saw a car outside, the typical, sort of suburban, all blacked out windows, typical style for FBI in America. They think they're inconspicuous like that. So he started recording right on the porch of his house, right outside his door. 2 gentlemen who kind of looked like Bible salesmen, except that they had guns strapped to their hip, walked up to the house, and they said, we want to have a talk with you. Can you stop recording? And he said, no, I'm allowed to record. I'm not going to stop. And they said, well, we're here to talk to you. And they didn't even identify themselves. They barely said FBI. He said, okay, show me some identification. And they said, we don't have to. We've announced ourselves as FBI. And he said, I don't know, what's your name? And they just gave their name, but still no identification. This is a really poor effort. And still recording the whole time. So they asked him, can you please stop recording? We don't want this to be seen. He said, no, I'm going to record this. And the minute you leave, I'm going to post it online. They didn't like that. He asked again, can I see some identification, official identification with your full name on it? And they actually had the audacity to say, no, you can see the gun. This is my badge, and this is the gun. So that's enough. He said, no, that's not enough. I don't trust that you've identified yourself as FBI agents. And again, they asked, please stop recording. He said, no, I'm going to continue recording. I have the right to do that. And so, and then they still didn't identify themselves, and they started to say, well, we're here because of a Facebook post. And he said, no, there's no law I've broken. You have no right to be here. This is ridiculous, and you know it. He said, you're wasting time. And the funny thing is, he pointed out something that they knew. The fact is there was no crime. But they said, oh, we just want to drop by and make sure everything's cool. That's not what the FBI does, for God's sake, to just drop in. The FBI, I would hope, on their salary, should be out there fighting actual serious crimes, trying to protect the country and its citizens. But they're hounding this guy because he made a joke on Facebook because he joked against the wrong person in the wrong regime. And he immediately said, no. He goes, what a waste of taxpayer money. You both here, the travel to get here, the two of you, 2 FBI agents, 2 cars to talk to one guy. How much did that cost? How much did they get paid per hour? Imagine the waste of money and resources. So essentially, they were still pushing to say, well, we want to talk to you about this. He said, no, there's nothing to talk about, and you know it. He goes, my First Amendment rights protect me, and in America, First Amendment is freedom of speech. The minute he said that, they turned around and started to walk away. I'm going to tell you what, I have never in my life seen a video like this. I've seen a lot of police and FBI captured on video, but this was astounding because he stood his ground, and he didn't stand his ground with a gun. You know what I mean? Most people think, Americans, they all just have guns in the house. He stood his ground by using his right of freedom of speech, his inalienable right, from this First Amendment rights from the Constitution. And this is what I want to talk about tonight. It's not so much about putting your faith in politicians or puppeticians, as I call them. You really need to choose the right people and the people who are presenting these bills and laws, because once something becomes a law, once something is written, I'll be honest, then you're in trouble. And when you're on the wrong side of that law, you're not going to like it. So again, this was just a case of First Amendment freedom of speech rights. And the minute he said that, the 2 FBI agents, they knew they were just wasting their time because they had nothing. And they drove away. Again, I think that was astounding. So I wanted to talk about and again, Australia, I feel like, is a litmus test because sometimes they try these things here and then they get picked up in America. And I'm not saying America is more important. All countries that, have democracy and freedom of speech should understand that once something like this does get into America, it is like there's no turning back. I'm just saying, because there is just a little bit of a uniqueness in that they're not part of the Commonwealth. They are not bound to the UK and king and country. They are their own sovereign country with their own constitution, and one that is very unique with things like, freedom of speech. So, so Australia, let me tell you, and I know a lot of you are on this, and if you're not, and if you don't think it affects you, I just want you to be open to the fact that these things might affect you, because right now you might be on the right side of it. You agree with the politics of your government, but one day you might not be. What if you're not in agreement and someone comes around and knocks on your door because you've said the wrong thing? So Australia, and again, this is the Albanese government and the Labour Party, they're trying to pretty much inflict the worst abomination on free speech that I've seen in a while. And it's specifically called the Communications Legislation Amendment Combating Misinformation and Disinformation Bill. So first of all, and I've talked about this before, the phrase misinformation, that's problematic because who is deciding what's misinformation and what's real? And you think, oh, well, someone says something totally wrong, it's obvious, or they say something that can't be backed up, that's fine. And as I say to all of you, don't listen to me. I could be nuts. You should do your own research and your own fact checking, and that's for you to do. It's not about a government taking a position to say, well, we're going to decide that this is truth and this isn't. I'll get into why that's even more problematic in a minute. But misinformation, okay. Let's talk misinformation. I'll randomly pick something that's still a controversial topic, the Pfizer and COVID vaccines. And don't get me wrong, again, just because I talk about this, oh no, he's an anti-vaxxer. No, I think science and the medical community are going to save us, and they have so many things that can save us. But I think in this case, it's about honesty and keeping us well-informed. Why did it used to be about body autonomy and being informed? It went from body autonomy for some, and then others, we had no body autonomy rights. And the Pfizer misinformation, well, first of all, let's not really call it a vaccine. This is an mRNA, which is messenger ribonucleic acid, which really means, and this is a naughty word in medical, it's gene therapy. And you have to just understand that is a little bit of a worry when there's an experimental gene therapy drug that was passed off as vaccination. As far as misinformation, well, let's talk about they never actually tested it for preventing transmission. But there's YouTube clips that are still on YouTube right now that say, well, if you get the vaccine, just one, not 20 boosters, it stops with you. Well, they never even actually tested that. They just pushed it on the public without saying anything. And it's also proven, and you can look this up because these have been peer-reviewed. This isn't just a maniac conspiracy theorist. Proven to cause myocarditis, especially in young men. These are serious things. Having heart disease and blood clots are serious things. So I'm just saying that's a form of misinformation, but that's okay because that was approved by Pfizer and all the billions of dollars and all of them paying for all the lobbyists and paying for the politicians to push it. So that's okay. So if you're on the right side of that, you're okay. That wasn't misinformation. And first of all, so the funny thing about this bill, it won't really get you in trouble. It will get the social media platform in trouble. As in, if this kind of bill passes, what this will affect is Twitter, now X, or Facebook, or TikTok, or wherever, and it's going to hit the wallets of the CEOs like Zuckerberg. And I'm going to tell you right now, they like their money. They like to be in business. They like to make money. And if they're going to get slapped with a fine because they crossed the line and they broke the law of the bill, they'll be in trouble. Not you, the person who said something, and they won't like that. Maybe they'll pay the fine for a while. Elon Musk, he's got plenty of dough, and I still think he's on the right track. He's still trying to keep X as the open town square. But look, he has his political views. But the point is they'll get in trouble, and in the end, they will start to remove certain information on their platform. So in the end, information is removed, and that's a slippery slope. So this has already happened elsewhere. Anti-hate speech in Scotland under Trudeau and Canada. Again, it's all about trying to remove speech, but they put it under the veil that it's to protect you. My favorite is to protect the children. That's crap. They don't care about your children. The fact is if you're worried about your kid's going to see the wrong thing, well, whatever the wrong thing is frankly, even if you make it so they don't have a phone or that you don't give them a certain phone at a certain age. By the way, I think that's understandable. Some young kids, they're just inundated with too much information. Let them go outside and play, for Christ's sake. Let them build a fort. My parents didn't know where I was half the time because I was on my bike out with my friends. They need to experience life before they get into some heavy stuff. But the fact is I am going to put this on the parents. It's up to you, because even if you keep it all from them and you keep them locked up in their room with no social media, the fact is they're going to see it somewhere else, at a friend's house, at someone else's house who you don't know. So the best you can do, as much as obviously try to, know the families that they're hanging out with and the children, know the school, know the teachers. And if there's something that you think is going to disturb them, whatever it may be, it's about how you teach them to come home and tell you. It's about how to teach them to arm themselves against that, to come home and ask you. It's about to give them the right morals to know that this doesn't feel right. I've seen this, but I'm not going to just keep it a secret, whatever it is. If it was something bad or bullying, you need to create that relationship with your kid so that they come home and they ask you, I've seen this. What should I take from that? And then you can say, well, maybe that's this side. That's an opinion on this side. But let's talk about this. And here's another side of the opinion. And again, it's all up to you on how you approach that. So it's not about protecting the kids. They don't care about protecting the kids. They'll put that as a veil because what they want to do in the end is ensure they control their narrative, which they'll call the truth, and yours is the lie. So I'm going to read you specifically just one part of it, and this is frightening enough. This is one of the provisions directly from it. And it says, again, this could just be something you've joked about. It doesn't have to be bullying or hate speech, something that you made a joke about. If it's a significant and far-reaching consequences for the Australian community or a segment of the Australian community, that's worrisome, because I guess I feel the old saying is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all in general. When it comes to being mean or being hateful, don't say anything at all. But if it comes to having a conversation or an opinion, this is where it's going to lead to. This isn't about hate speech. It's about shutting down the opinions they don't want. And if you think, it won't lead there, it will. It always will. So, if you're not sure about that vague sentence in general, what that translates to is what's allowed speech and what's hate speech. But that's okay. Who will decide? That's all right. We'll have another group of unelected officials who will decide that for you. Maybe we'll call them something like the Disinformation Governance Board. That's something that Biden actually tried to do. The Disinformation Governance Board. So you won't know them. You won't be able to interact with them. You didn't elect them. They don't speak for you. But they'll sit in a room because they're smarter than you, and they'll decide. You're dumb. You're too stupid to figure out the truth. They'll figure it out for you. Disinformation governance. My God, that really sounds like Ministry of Truth. Well, let's just make George Orwell's 1984 absolutely come true, folks. Misinformation governance. Ministry of Truth. Tell me you don't see that that's exactly where this will slide to. So the phrase, like, it may cause serious harm. Serious harm. That is really subjective. Serious harm. Well, serious harm to my dog is when I don't give him a treat before I leave the house. In his mind, I have traumatized him. Based on the noises he's giving, he's spinning and he's freaking out. I haven't given him a treat. I've caused serious harm. And I love the dog, but I've caused him serious harm. I didn't give him a treat. Serious harm might be the parent telling the kid to do their homework. Can't go out till you do your homework. Well, yeah, to the 11-year-old, that's serious harm in his mind. So you can't just write it vague like that, because it's going to lead to a place where if you have an opinion and the Ministry of Misinformation will decide that that's serious harm, you're done for. And that's not right. That's not freedom. That's not freedom of speech. That's not open public discourse. That's not democracy. So it starts with saying it's here to protect from harmful remarks against, again, right now they'll keep it in the realm of ideology, sexuality, skin color, gender. But again, these are parts of us. They aren't you. You are more than that. You are a unique individual, and you have a unique opinion. It starts with that, but it will end up with, to protect saying anything against someone who's too skinny, too fat, too tall, too short, blonde, brunette, blue eyes, brown eyes. It will keep going until the entire segment of the population you can't say anything about. You walk down the street and you'll smirk at someone, or I'm quite tall. People point that out all the time. People point out almost every day that I don't know. The first thing they say is, "Boy, you're tall. Hey, how's the weather up there? How you going? How's the weather?" The Aussies are always do that. How's the weather up there, mate? Hey, up in the clouds, eh? So I should be immediately triggered by that. I should be offended, and I should immediately call the police or call the Ministry of Truth, of Misinformation, and tell them that I've been offended because this person has noticed that I'm taller than the average person, and I want that person jailed. They have offended me. They have caused serious harm on me. And I know you're thinking, oh, you're stretching it. Who would actually take it that far? Who? The people who write these kind of things called the Misinformation Bill. The people who want to stay in power at any cost because they just like power. They want control, and they want to stay in control. Those are the people who will end up making sure that you don't have an opinion. Like I say, people get confused about what a democratic society is. They just think it's majority rules. No, majority rules would be if the majority all put their hands up and said, we're going to jump off the bridge, and you had to go by majority rule, you would all do it. That's ridiculous. That's not how that works. It's about having an open discourse and a voice. It's about you have a piece of this company called Australia. Americans have a piece of the company called America. That's what it is. You're a shareholder in the place you live, in the country you live, and you all have a voice and a say to say, that doesn't sound quite right. And again, you have a public discussion in open, not in secret, and it's not decided behind doors by the Ministry of Truth. It is about open, honest discussion. And then you decide what's best, and not everyone is going to get their way. So you walk away with trade-offs and the best way forward until you bring it up again and you talk about it until you come up with the best idea. We are all pains in the butts, humans, all of us. We're all unique and we're all a pain. I'm a pain. And we're not all going to get in 100% agreement on anything. And this kind of, misinformation bill is the kind of thing that says, no, we'll decide, and we will decide what's truth and what's hate speech, and we will combat those who go against us. So, like I said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. To be a part of a democratic Western civilization, it's advanced citizenship, folks. It really is. You have a job to do. If you're a citizen, you have a job to do, and you owe it to yourself and others to always fight for your inalienable right for freedom in any way, shape, or form. And freedom of speech is certainly one of the biggest ones. And you have every right to voice your opinion on high. Like I say, wave the American flag, wave the Australian flag, but right next to you, while you have that national pride, someone may be burning the Australian flag or burning the American flag. And frankly, you have to deal with that. Okay? That's how it works. That is a democratic freedom of speech society. And hopefully the two of you, one's burning the flag, one's not, maybe you can have a conversation and figure out why one is waving it and one is burning it. And you know what? You might learn something from each other and you'll find a way through that. And that's what I believe. That's how it works, and that's what I believe we've really lost. So yeah, like I say, it's just disturbing that this kind of thing is still going on, and there are people who are using their positions of power to create, I think, just so much divisiveness and discourse. So what can I say? Voting's important. I don't just mean for the president. I don't just mean for voting in general. Your local community, your local councils. What are the laws in your own community, your own neighborhood? Start with that. It's about family, making those connections. The neighborhood is strong. You all know each other. Again, maybe you have differences of opinion, but you all love your kids and you love your neighborhood. So right there, guess what? You just found something in common. You all have the same common goal. You want to live a good and fruitful life, and you want the best for your kids. You know what? 99.9% of the people in the world want that. And if you can come together on that, you've gone pretty far. So like I say, folks, start small. Be aware of what's going around you. And your vote counts. And if you don't think the big vote counts, well, then the little votes do, okay? Start small. Your city, your councilman, like I say. Anyway, that's all I had to say tonight. And again, I certainly hope that misinformation bill does not pass, because it will just open the door. They'll watch Australia. They'll say, oh, it worked on Australia. They're conforming to that. If it ever ends up in America, God help the world. That's all I can say. All right. Thanks for joining me tonight on The Ugly Truth. More great music coming up next on Radio Emotion's Anthem Anthology tonight.